Today I am going to explain about Ruth. Critics criticized about Ruth's character and nationality because she was in the genealogy of Messiah. Yes, she was right person like a rose in the genealogy of Messiah. Let us see the good qualities of Ruth. Ruth belongs to Moab nation. She was daughter of Eglon. She belongs to Balaam's family. Numbers 23rd chapter, first verse. Balaam said to Balak, build me 7 altars here and prepare me 7 bulls and 7 rams here. Balaam constructed altars for God. Maybe that issues are different. Maybe he tried to curse Israel's, but he constructed many altars for living God. No Israel king constructed altars to living God, but they erected idols instead of altars. 14th verse. He took him through the field of Zophim to the top of Pisgah range, built 7 altars and offered a bull and a ram on the each altar. He again constructed altars on Pisgah hill also. 28th verse. Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, overlooking the desert. Balaam said to Balak, build me 7 altars here and prepare me 7 bulls and 7 rams. Yes, the king of Moab, Balak, he offered rams and bulls for the living God, for the true God. It is a blessing to him. So Ruth belongs to Balaam's family. Judges 3rd chapter, 12th and 14th verses. But the people of Israel again did what was evil from Adonai's perspective. So Adonai strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel. Eglon was king of Moab. Israelites were slaves to him because of their wickedness. So Ruth was daughter of Eglon. Ruth belongs to royal family. Ruth was princess of Moab. 14th verse. And the people of Israel saved Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. So Ruth's father, king of Moab, Eglon, he ruled 18 years. Israelites were under his rule. 20th verse. Yehud said, I have a message from God for you. I have a message from God for you. As the king arose from his seat, Yehud, he murdered Eglon. Before he murdered, he said a word. I have a message from God. So he respected that word. He respected Adonai. He respected Jehovah. He respected living God. He arose from his seat, from his throne. It is indicating the obedience, the reverence, the respect towards Jehovah. So God blessed Eglon's daughter Ruth because of this nature. God blessed Ruth and God chose Ruth because of Balak's constructed altars for living God. His grandfather and father both have done good things and shows respect towards God. That's why God blessed Ruth. Tamar, historian, explain about the blood relation of Moabites to Israel's King David. 1 Samuel 22nd chapter, 3rd verse. David left there and took refuge. David went from there to Mizpah of Moab and said to the king of Moab, please let me father and mother come and stay with you until I know what God will do for me. He presented them to the king of Moab and they lived with him as long as David remained in his stronghold. King David's parents and brothers all were got shelter in Moab country. Moab king, he provided shelter, food and everything to David's father and brothers. Why did he provide shelter? Why don't he care King Saul of Israel country? Because there is a blood relation between David's family and Moab kings. Ruth family belongs to king's family. So Ruth relatives were still ruling Moab at the time of David. David was a shepherd boy at that time. David was a soldier and a captain in Saul's army. So Moab king tried to fight with King Saul for the relatives of David because they have a blood relation. Ruth family ruling Moab country at that time. So Ruth was not an ordinary family lady. She belongs to king's family. From generation to generation, Ruth family members were kings to Moab. Josephus also mentioned about Ruth in his book Antiquities of Jews. Critics criticized about Ruth's character and her nationality because Ruth belongs to Lot's blood lineage. So they argued, why did God allow Ruth in his genealogy? God's genealogy must be holy. Yes, Ruth was holy. Let us see her holiness. Ruth first chapter, ninth verse. May Adonai grant you security in the home of your new husband. Ruth followed her mother-in-law Naomi. Naomi advised Ruth, please go and marry and be happy at your new husband at new home. But Ruth rejected to remarry. Ruth has no carnal ideas, no physical thoughts. Her mind was full of God's words. So she has an intention to marry any other man. 14th verse. Again they wept aloud. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. But Ruth stuck with her. Ruth stuck with her. God stuck with us. So Ruth stuck her mother-in-law. This is a rare quality. No daughter-in-law will stuck to to her mother-in-law, but Ruth stuck to with her mother-in-law. 16th. But Ruth said, "Don't press me to leave you and stop following you." Ruth was follower of Naomi, her mother-in-law. No daughter-in-law will not follow her mother-in-law. She was follower of her mother-in-law because her mother-in-law was follower of Jehovah. Don't press me to leave you. I won't leave you. The young girl Ruth was saying these words to her mother-in-law. She was not follower of any man. For wherever you go, I will go. Naomi was going to Bethlehem. It was a tiny village, a dirty village. No roads also in Bethlehem. They're walking on the roofs of the houses. Animals also living in their rooms. One room for animals, second room for women, other room for men. No water facility in that area. Deep poverty in that area, but she selected Naomi's place. There is no proper shelter also. Ruth belongs to royal family. She rejected riches. She rejected pearls, diamonds, precious stones, lands, fields, fortress, royal palaces, and royal blood relatives also. Wherever you stay, I will stay. Yes, Naomi will stay in a small house. It is not a good house. She is right to sleep on the mud also. Your people will be my people. She belongs to Moabitess nationality. She was a Gentile. She doesn't like Moabites nationality or citizenship. Your people means Israel's. Bethlehem people, Jewish people will be my people, saying Ruth. And your God will be my God. Ruth's country people gods were different. They are pagan worshippers. They worship trees, animals, birds, and nature. But Ruth rejected worship nature. Where you die, I will die. This is statement from Ruth. Naomi will die in Bethlehem because she was in full old age. So, Ruth will also die in Bethlehem. She won't go back to Moab in any circumstances. May Adonai bring terrible curses on me. She began to promise. And verse 1 says, well, if anything but death separates you and me, only death will separate you and me. Nothing will separate you and me. The poverty, the difficulties, the problems, the insult, the shame, and nothing will separate you and me. Because of these qualities, because of these words, because of these statements, Ruth was holy, Ruth was righteous, Ruth was rich in spirit. Even though she was born in Moabitess country, even though she belongs to Lot's family lineage, she was good. She was transformed. She was like a butterfly. Ruth changed his religion. Ruth changed his attitude. Ruth changed his God. Ruth changed his religion. Ruth changed his land. Everything also. She was fully filled with the Holy Spirit. Ruth's second chapter, second verse. Let me go into the field and glean ears of grain behind anyone who will allow me to. She asked permission to go outside of the house. Mother-in-law Naomi granted permission. So this line is telling many things. Ruth was not a vagabond. Ruth was disciplined. Third verse. So she set out, arrived at the field and gleaned behind the reapers. So she went exactly to the field and began to glean the ears of corn there. So she was not a liar. She didn't went to any neighbor's house. She didn't follow any men. Whatever she said, she followed the same thing. Sixth verse. So she went and has kept at it from morning until now, except for a little rest in the shelter. Boaz came, the landlord came and inquired, who is this lady? So the supervisor had given a good statement about Ruth. She was gleaning from the morning, except A little rest, a little rest. Ruth was not lazy. Ruth was hard working lady. Even though she was princess in Moab country, she acts like a slave. She acts like a laborer in the field. Only orphans and widows will glean the ears of corn in those days. But Ruth was obedient. Ruth was submissive. Ruth began to work from morning. No rest. Let us see Boaz's testimony. 11th and 12th verses. Boaz answered her, I have heard the whole story, everything you have done for your mother-in-law since your husband died, including how you left your father and mother and the land you were born in to come to people about whom you knew nothing before hand. Yes, Boaz said, I know everything. What you have done to your mother-in-law. You helped your mother-in-law. You supported your mother-in-law after your husband's death. This is a good attitude. Heard about her kindness, about her character also. You left everything. Ruth has a mother, but I think she left his mother also. Maybe. May Adonai reward you for what you have done. Yes. You have done a right thing, a rare issue this was. So Adonai will reward you. You will get a reward from Adonai, from Jehovah. Under whose wings you have come for refugee. Yes, now you are under the wings of Lord Jehovah. He will rescue you. He will protect you. He will give security to you. 14th. When mealtime came, Boaz said to her, come here, have something to eat and dip your piece of bread in the vinegar. Actually, this is not vinegar. This is like a garbage of bean sauce. So, he provided garbage of bean sauce to a foreigner, to an orphan, to a widow, to Ruth. She found favor at the same day because of her character. They passed her some roasted grain. She ate till she was full and she had some left over. She ate and left some roasted grain. Why did she left some roasted grain? It is for her mother-in-law because Naomi was in full old age. No food at their house. So she kept something for her mother-in-law. This is her kindness towards old people. Actually, Naomi was not her mother but mother-in-law only. That is a statement of landlord. Ruth 3rd chapter. 9th verse. Spread your robe over your handmaid. Here robe means kanaf, wings of Adonai. It means. So she asked her, spread your robe means spread your wings upon me like Lord Jehovah, legally and righteously. She asked that thing. Boaz was a Goel. Goel means redeemer. Boaz must redeem Ruth because he was kinsman to her. I am redeeming kinsman, but there is a redeemer who is a closer relative than I am. Boaz said, you have a closer relative than me. So I will approach him. If he rejected to marry you, then I will marry you. This is a legal process in Jewish law. There is no illegal contacts between them. Both are holy. 4th chapter, 1st verse. Meanwhile, Boaz had gone up to the gate and had sat down there where the Redeemer of whom Boaz had spoken passed by. So he went and sit at the city gate. Many people will come. They will solve their legal and civil matters there. Many people will be there. City elders will be there. Legal people were there. Older people were there. Their community people were there. 6th verse. The Redeemer said, then I can't redeem it for myself because I might put my own inheritance at risk. You take my right of redemption on yourself because I can't redeem it. The closer relative won't accept marry Ruth because he's scared he may lost his property. She belongs to Moab country. She was not Israel, so she rejected to marry her. Then only Boaz married Ruth. So there is a legal process. He followed a legal process there. 7th, in that past, this is what was done in Israel to validate all transactions involving redemption and exchange. A man took off his shoe and gave it to the other party. This was the form of attestation in Israel. This was the form of attestation legally in Israel. So the man took off his shoe and gave it to the other party. This is the rule. So the closer relative took off his shoes and gave it to other party. It means he won't accept that redemption process. Boaz addressed the leaders and all the people. You are witnesses today that I am purchasing from Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Kilion and Mahlon. Also, I am acquiring as my wife Ruth, the woman from Moab, the wife of Mahlon, in order to raise up in the name of the deceased an heir for his property, so that the name of deceased will not be cut off from his kinsmen and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses today. So, Boaz acquired Ruth through the legal process. The deceased husband Mahlon had no children with Ruth. So, the son of Boaz and Ruth will be the heir of Mahlon. That is the rule. That is the process. All the people at the gate and the leaders said, this is the people's statement. This is the people. This is the leader's testimony. We are witnesses. We are witnesses. Yes. We means here the leaders and all the people were witnesses for the marriage of Ruth and Boaz. So he married legally. Ruth was righteous. Boaz was righteous. God was born in this lineage. God selected this lineage. God chose this lineage. No daughter-in-law in this world like this. Ruth 4:11. May Adonai make the woman who has come into your house like Rachel and like Leah. So they blessed Ruth like a Rachel, like a Leah. Both were holy women in the Holy Bible, who between them built up the house of Israel, do worthy deeds in Ephrathah, become renowned in Bethlehem. May your house, because of the seed Adonai will give you from this young woman, become like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Even they compared Ruth like Tamar also, because she was also righteous woman. Listen, I already upload in YouTube about Tamar. This Tamar was also righteous. So they compared Ruth like Leah, like Rachel. Both were biblical women. Why did they compare like this? Ruth was more than Leah, more than Rachel. Her sacrifice was an excellent. She was an obedient and spiritual person. 15th. May he restore your life and provide for your old age, for your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. Naomi took the child, laid it on her breast, and became its nurse. Yes, the village people compared Ruth. She was more than 7 sons to you, Naomi. She took care of you. She nourished you. She loves you. She left her motherland. Obed was born to Ruth and Boaz. Obed was the father of Ishi, the father of David. Yes, Obed was father of Ishi and Ishi was father of David. So Messiah was born to David's lineage. God was born in his blood lineage. What a wonderful news. 17th. A son has been born to Naomi and called it Obed. Yes, a son was born to Naomi. Actually, Boaz's son. Why did they say Naomi's son? Because Ruth was first daughter-in-law of Naomi. Naomi's son Mahlon married Ruth, but they had no children. But the son of Boaz and Ruth was considered as the son of Mahlon. He was an heir to Mahlon. So, Boaz property, Mahlon property, Kilion property, every property belongs to Obed. God blessed Ruth financially also. She left kingdom. She rejected kings. She selected Jehovah. So God allowed Ruth in his lineage, in his genealogy. So David was born. Grandson was born to Ruth. Great grandson. So great grandson was born to Ruth. David was king of Israel. Before that, Ruth was princess of Moab. Her parents and relatives were kings and queens of Moab country. Now kings were born in her lineage. She was a blessed lady. She was a righteous woman. She was more than pearl. God chosen rose. So, critics criticized many things. They have no authentic books. They don't know history. They don't know spiritual meaning. They just commented, they passed comments. No need to listen or no need to believe those worst comments. Ruth was like a rose in the lineage of, in the genealogy of Messiah. God bless you. Thank you.